Getting ready here to this live chat. um, Hopefully, all your future listeners out there could tune in. Or I should say, future watchers. I think I'm on Taino. I always think I'm on Taino Radio here. So I'm just gonna wait till 10:30 for the countdown. Okay, we got one more minute. Got some good smokes here for a little ceremony we're gonna do before we start. I'm gonna teach on a little Taino history. I'm going way back. Soy DJ Sanacori, aquí de Borinquen, viviendo en Nueva York. Voy a hablar un poco de la historia de los taínos del Caribe. Do a little sound check here, sound check. Hopefully everyone can hear me. If you can't hear me, just please write in the comment section. If you have any questions, that'll be so cool if you could share any questions tonight. All right, so it looks like we're going to begin. It's 10:30. And for all you future watchers of this video, it's always important to always center yourself whenever you do any studies. Always important to call upon those ancestors so they can give you some guidance. Remember, they're no longer with us in the physical realm, but definitely in the spiritual realm. They're alive and well, watching over us and guiding us and giving us some clues what it is to be taíno. So es muy importante que cuando tú estudies la historia taína o participe en cualquier situación taíno, muy importante empezar en recordar los antepasados. Ellos no están con nosotros en el mundo físico, pero sí en el mundo espiritual. So today I'm going to start this lesson with some good smokes here. I'm going to do some smudging on myself. Very important to smudge. I'm not using water today. I'm using some good smokes to purify. So wherever you are, remember, if you have any questions and you want to throw out here, that'll be good. For all you future watchers out there, if you have any questions, you can write it in the comment section. I promise to get back to you. So thank you for taking the time in this Friday night. It's a beautiful night here in New York City, 72 degrees. Wow, climate change has turned our weather upside down. So I'm going to start with the Taino calling song, calling upon the creator, super creator that our ancestors, and right now in the Taino world, we continue to honor. So let me just start. Wherever you are, if you just center yourself, and if you're sitting or standing, whatever, it's always important to recognize the ancestors, especially the power of all powers. O kama tabe guabansesh. O kama yokahu bagua marukoti. Taino ti o taino ti taino ti atabe yokahu wama. So in the Taino way, the Taino language, atabe It's the sacred mother. Her opposite is Guavansesh, the winds, the powerful winds compared to the still waters. And then we have Yokahu, Bagua, Marakoti, Yokahu, the spirit of the Yuka of the sea, no beginning. And those are sacred being, both male and female, two spirit, the powers. Wow, man, thank you. And it's gonna be an interesting show because I'm gonna throw a lot out today. I'm gonna throw out some seeds. You guys can catch it and you guys can bury it. But please promise me that you're gonna research this. Before I start, I'd like to thank Anonymous. Wherever you are, Anonymous, I'd like to thank you for this beautiful necklace. It's a warrior necklace. Thank you, Anonymous, and blessings to you and your mother and all your family there. Greetings, Light. Awesome. Thank you for being here. And Jasper, hey there, buddy. How's it going? Very good, man. I'm excited here on this Friday night in New York City, Washington Heights. And I'm excited that you are all listening and watching this show. Please take some notes, all right? I'm going to give you throw out some seeds. Whatever you like, hold on to it and research it, okay? Oh, thank you, man. It's a cool necklace made out of wood and some Amazonian seeds. It's a warrior necklace. It's a reminder, necklaces are very powerful. Our ancestors used them. It's a reminder of the sacred, and we are sacred. So let me just start here. Most of the information I'm going to share with you today, nice, thank you, Jasper, is from this book. It's an old classic book. It's called Taino, Pre-Columbian Art and Culture from the Caribbean. Once I download this show, promise to put this in the description section. It's from the Monacele Press and Museo del Barrio. It's a beautiful semi right there of Yokahu. And yeah, so Taino, Pre-Columbian Art and Culture from the Caribbean. And this was published back in 1998. A lot of stuff has been uncovered since then, but I'm going to use the history, the base of this. So hopefully this is not backwards. If it's backwards, let me know. I'm going old school. I'm using a blank piece of paper for my notes. But the Caribbean islands, what we know as the Greater Antilles, wow, you're talking about 7,000 years before the Common Era, up until 2000 before the Common Era. Those were the earliest migrations to these beautiful islands we call the Great Antilles Islands in the Caribbean. And very early migrations. And who were these people? Hold on a second. A lot of the very first migrants that came to the Caribbean came from Central America. And before Central America, like Guatemala, El Salvador, and so on, you're talking about North America. And those are your first original peoples. So we have our ancestral roots to North America. So even though if you're living in North America, hey, if anybody has time, put it in the comments where you live. It's like you're coming back home thousands of years in the past. So around 6,000, 7,000 before Common Era, you're talking about Cuba or Cubao, you're talking about Haiti, you're talking about Quisqueya, the Dominican Republic, those early migrations. Most of these people came from the Yucatan in canoes from Mexico region and of course through Central America. And around 2000 before the Common Era, more migrants came from these areas in the north. And these people use ground stones, decorated bowls, and pendants, and axes, and so on. These are your ancient peoples. They really didn't grow any crops at this time. They mostly hung out by the northeast region of South America. So they came with this really powerful pottery work. And they moved through Dominican Republic, we know it's Quisqueya, to the smaller islands like the Virgin Islands and so on. And they were ocean travelers. These people were intense. Do you play acoustic guitar and go fishing? Yeah, man, I play acoustic guitar. You see it back behind me? Hey, maybe I'll play something later. I forgot to tune it though. So these were ocean travelers, and they lived in the Caribbean. Again, 7,000 BC before the Common Era. Around 500. Well, hold on a second. They were since they were ocean people. They were excellent fisher people and collectors. Clams and seashells and so on. So around 500 to zero before I played for 6 months. Awesome, man. We gotta do a show. We can play our guitars, man. So, I promise in future shows we'll do some Zooms so people could be live. We can talk to each other. So around 500 to zero before the Common Era. You're talking up. This is when the Caribbean started exploding with agriculture, what they call horticulturalists. So these were we'll call the Arahuacos, the Arawaks coming from South America, Venezuela, Colombia, and let's not forget those Andean natives, Bolivia, Peru, and Ecuador. They came with the potatoes, the sweet potatoes. I love sweet potatoes. Batata, I don't know about you. So around 0 BCE and the Common Era up to 600, this is when we started seeing developing villages. We call Yucayekes. So around 600 to 1,000 years, Common Era, we started developing red and white paint pottery. And around 1,000 to 1,500 Common Era, the artwork kind of took a pivotal change. It became we didn't follow the traditional patterns of red and white or designs, but we took it to another level. Especially the women. The women were the artists. Oh, you're welcome, Heart of Amanti. Thank you for your knowledge and dedication. No problem. Thank you for being here. So that's just a little bit. That's a little sprinkle of some migrations. You know. And I promise in future shows I'm going to add some meat to those migrations. It's very important. But I just want to throw some seeds out. Now I'm going to get to some right after Christopher Columbus showed up and what they call the invasion of 1492. Okay, hold on a second. My notes are a little out of control here. Hey, what happened to it? See, I knew this was gonna happen. I had everything organized, and now it's not organized. Sorry about that. So we're on Indian time now. Just to give me a few minutes. Hey, where are you, Botamana la Casas? Oh, here we go. Okay, just for you guys to know, and you guys can look this up, there was a priest. He came to Cuba when he was a teenager, and came with his dad, who was a slavery owner. And Botelama de la Casas, he was a Spanish. He eventually became a Spanish priest and then a bishop of Chiapas, Mexico. On his deathbed, okay, let me just give you a little more context. He tried his best to defend the Taino culture, and he thought that the Taino would be exterminated. He was the first one to say this culture is going to get exterminated because of the destruction that he witnessed. And on his deathbed in Chiapas, Mexico, this is what he wrote. And this is from the History of the Indies from 1492 to 1520. He wrote, open quote, should God decide to destroy Spain, history will be very, very clear that Spain deserved the punishment for the destruction we have brought to the Indies, end quote. So he included himself in this destruction. So years before his death, he dedicated his time to write as much as he could to preserve the history. So I won't say he was a destructive person, but he tried his best. Of course, his chief goal was colonization and teaching, I should say evangelization, teaching their gospel, or their religion. Oh, I'm sorry, he passed. Yeah, he was, I believe he died in his 70s or 80s. I forget the exact age, but he lived a long time. And because of him, we know a lot about our traditions and the main players. I just want you to listen. I'm following the tradition of storytelling, and and if you have any questions, please write in the comments, and I'll spell it out. The first chief that we understood, cacique, that was introduced to the European world in the Journal of Columbus, he wrote about Cacique Guaca Nakari. Guaca Nakari. Now, his Yucayeke was around the northern section of Haiti. Um, and we really don't know, we don't have any archaeological proof exactly where that village was located, that Yucayeke. If anyone can research that, please let me know. Let me see. Wow, we're just asking for that insight to the ancestors, and they were there. Repercussions for them killing us or trying to convert us away from the Semis. Exactly, yes. You can imagine the shock waves from from thousands of years of how our worldview, and then all of a sudden, boom, explosion. So Wakanakari um, was responsible to safeguard 15 Spaniards, those 15 invaders that came with Columbus. So Columbus went back to Spain. He was excited. He found his new people, and he left those 15 at a fort called La Navidad. So I believe it was around Christmas time they built this fort. And there's a story about Guacanacari that was very interesting. One of the ships, I forget what ship, I think it was La Nina, that collided on many of the rocks off the coast of Quisqueya, and it sunk. And Wakanakari, without thinking, he got his warriors together, and they dove into the ocean, and they tried to retrieve everything that was in the ship. And according to Christopher Columbus, he was impressed with this chief because he started to cry. He started to cry. Now, when Columbus did return, he was upset because the 15 invaders were gone. They were missing. And why were they missing? Well, let me give you a little information on this. Um, our ancestors had a very interesting tradition that the guests any guest that would come to their village, the cacique would gift these new guests with women for pleasure. And it was a tradition that the ancient world, it's very difficult for us to judge our values to the values of the past, but this is what happened. But the Spaniards took it a step further. Instead of accepting this gift in a good way, they started raping the women, you know and this was a terrible situation. It was so terrible that our ancestors were scandalized by this. So Guacanacari killed those 15 invaders for their atrocities. So when Columbus came back, he said, hey, where's our people? Where's my people? And Guacanacari, there's many theories about this. Many people call him a traitor. But Wacanacari accused another chief of this act, and that was Caunabo. And Caunabo, his Yucayeke was around San Juan La Maguana right now, and it's around the north central west area. And this is around 1495. And Columbus, as you can expect, he was very upset, and he accused Caunabo of treason and crimes, and so Gaunabo was taken to Spain in a ship, but before he reached Spain for punishment, for trial and punishment, the ship sunk somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. So Gaunabo was lost. Little backdrop about Gaunabo. You can research him, but Gaunabo he wasn't Taino. He wasn't of the Taino culture. He was Galinago, or what the Spanish call the Caribs. So this is a very good insight because it seems that our ancestors were not very strict um, about including other people from other tribes. Now imagine a cacique is a representative of the people, you know, and to choose someone from another tribe to represent you, to represent the tribe, the village, this man must have been really good. He must have been a very good man, a very honorable man, um, very powerful. I'm gonna go have a good night. All right, good night, Jasper. Thanks for cutting in. Joining us. Make sure you download tomorrow, okay? And Kaunabo had a wife, and her name was Anacaona. And Anacaona, after his death, she took the position of cacique, and you could just imagine that how the people, the shock, the trauma of losing their chief, and now seeing what the Spanish were all about: rape, destruction, and the Taino way was just collapsing in front of them. We're going to get more into that in future shows. So Anacaona and her tribal leaders were invited into a meeting. And in this meeting, it was in Paliacane, where the caciques used to live and hold their meetings. Something horrendous happened. It was a trap. The Spanish burned the cane, and most of the people that were in there, maybe it was like 15, 16, were all burned to death. I don't know if the Spanish did this on purpose, but Anacaona survived. And also a little boy, her nephew, little 12 years old, that the Spanish would later on call Enriquillo. And he was adopted, or I shouldn't say he was adopted, he was taken into slavery by a man called Valenzuela. In Valenzuela, a Spanish, I want to say conquistador, but an invader, he inherited the land that belonged to Gaunabo, that Gaunabo and Anacaona administered. Because remember, our ancestors didn't own land, they honored the land. So they took this land, he took the land, and I'm just going to give a little introduction here to the life of Enriquillo. He was educated the Spanish way, which was like high Middle Ages. He learned Spanish and so on. So when he was around, I guess young adulthood, he got married to a wife. And, he was probably like a leader within the encomienda, the plantation system that the Spanish used. And then, to his horror, he discovered that his wife was raped by Valenzuela. And so what did Enriquillo do? He went back. Not went back. He went to the high court in present-day Santo Domingo to protest this criminality. And in Santo Domingo High Court, the judge laughed in his face. And this is when Enriquillo says, I don't understand. Where's the justice? He says, you don't understand. You are an Indian. You have no rights. You're property. And when Enriquillo returned, I forgot to mention, his wife was also beaten close to death. So Enriquillo, his people were very upset. You can imagine, right? And then he was encouraged to return back to the old ways. It says, now this is me adding to this. Enriquillo, your aunt, she was Anacaona. Your uncle was Gaunabo. You have to bring us back to the old ways. So according to the tradition, the stories, thanks you to the La Casas, And Ezekiel returned back to the old ways. He took the women and children. He made sure they were safe. They put them in the caves, far away from the settlements. And there, he declared war against the Spaniards, the invaders. De la Casas mentions people like the warrior. His name was Siguayo. And Siguayo in history was known as a valiant warrior. The Spanish, they feared him. He would attack settlements and towns, guerrilla warfare style. But eventually he was found and killed. There was another great warrior. His name was Tamayo. And they killed, I guess in the Spanish words, he was a terrorist. So the La Casas witnessed his campaign of terror, according to them. But he was very brave. And he would go up to the Spanish and he would just, take them on. And he, with the weapons and horses, he would steal from them. See, it wasn't. We started the stealing of horses. So the resistance went on and went on. Now, after many years of fighting, there was a Spaniard named Hernando de San Miguel. And he said, man, we can't take these warriors down. It's just too tough. They're resilient. So he approached Ezequiel and he wanted to make peace. And guess what? Ezequiel agreed to the peace treaty. So this was the first historical peace treaty between Europe and indigenous nations. That's right. Before the 1800s here in North America, we were signing peace treaties. And I believe to this day, Canada, oh, I don't know, Vela, Maribel, hold on a second. So we created this first peace treaty, which is amazing. And I believe Canada, to this day, honors that peace treaty. So this is something that you can look up. Ezequiel. I'll write his name in the comment section. Hold on a second. I'm looking for. Okay, so Ezequiel, he took on the ancient name of Guarocuya of Jaraguao. And I believe that's where his body is buried. Remember, he was the nephew of Anacaona. Now, I start in Quisqueya because that's where the first wars broke out, and Columbus took the land for himself and the crown and the church, the Catholic Church. So let me just throw some names out to you for history's sake. There were 5 Yucayeques that were considered a classic Taino. Guanyanesh was the first cacique in the Cibao region that we know of. Guacanacari that I mentioned before, his Yucayeque was Marien. And there was Caonabo I mentioned before, Maguana, present day San Juan de Maguana. Ezequiel, his Yucayeque was Jaragua. And Higuanama, that was the Yucayeque in Higüey. That was Higuanama. Higüey, all the way in the east. Hold on a second. If you have any questions, please you can add in the comment sections. I do want to mention something about Higüey. Very historical land, historical people there. There was a little small island facing Higüey in Santo Domingo called Saona. And that island I mentioned before in my Taino radio shows, there was an unknown cacique. We don't know his name, but he was in charge of giving the Spanish yuca, I guess to appease them, calm them down, to suppress warfare. But some idiot invader had a stupid idea, barbaric idea of, according to history, he let his war dog, these big, huge dogs, Maltese dogs, to jump on the cacique, and that dog ripped the stomach apart. And according to the eyewitnesses, the cacique tried to hold his intestines inside. And of course, he bled out and he died. So when that story got back to the mainland in Santo Domingo and Higüey, there was a famous cacique. His name was Cotumanamá. And Cotumanamá lived in the Higüey region. And you could just imagine when word got out. So, according to these stories, there was a war council, and in this war council, Cotumanamá was chosen as the war leader or the warrior chief that will fight the Spanish. So hold on a second. Wow, this is crazy. My notes are all scattered. What's going on here? Yeah, here we go. So this is around 1503. Okay. So you can imagine the peaceful way was not working. So revenge, or trying to avenge the death of this unknown chief in Saona. There was a war campaign. There's people like Nicolas de Ovando. He ordered the killings of Taino villages. And there were 3 main Spanish villages that they organized troops to fight the resistant fighters led by Cotumanamá. According to Batama de las Gasas, Cotumanamá was what we call Arnold Schwarzenegger, you know? He was tall and he was diesel, muscles galore. And a lot of people really respected him. Now, there was a leader called Juan de Esquivel, and he was considered a knight back in Spain, and he was a ruthless killer. I want you guys to know that name, Juan de Esquivel. And he was known as the Indian killer. His job was to get as many Taino as possible and kill them. In the Spanish, they had a tradition that when they go into a village, right, women, children, and so on, they will line them up size order. According to the casas, whenever they got new swords from Europe, from Spain, they will have a contest of how many bodies they can slice in half in a row. And the winner will be the one that can go the distance. So they will go with the women and children, you know, the size order until the tallest slice. According to the La Casas, there was one boy that escaped one of these slaughters, these horrible sporting games they consider. And this little boy went to the church and he asked for sanctuary, you know. And the La Casas was outraged what happened. And then one of the Spaniard warriors, well, I won't say the word warriors, one of the bloodthirsty invaders, say, hey, we need that boy. We need to bring him back to the village. And then the La Casa was like, no, you know, he's staying here. You know, I need to protect him, you know. Thus he got that title, the defender of the Indians. And what happened was, somehow this idiot, this bloodthirsty goon, convinced the La Casas that the boy can return back to his village. And once that boy left the church, the Spaniard took his sword and he sliced his head. And it rolled on the ground. And to the outrage of the La Casas, he just couldn't take it anymore. He knew that this was out of control. Okay, what did Light say? This is a warrior council developed due to the revolutionary freedom fighting actions, or did they have these in place in tribes already? Wow, that's a great question. I know the Taínos, what we know through the Spanish witnesses, they will conduct these cojoba ceremonies to ask the spirits, to ask the semis, what should they do in time of war? And the semis will tell them. And also they will play these Batu games where warriors will go against each other. And whoever wins the Batu game, they will go into war, either with different villages or the Spanish. So there were protocols in place, very organized, these warrior societies. Let me tell you a story. During this time period, there were these You can just imagine this. I'm using a little imagination here now. Um, when the Spanish, the invaders, would invade a village, they will go in numbers. They will even recruit Taino slaves who understood the warfare techniques of their people. And there was one story that there was over 100 Taino warriors who was on the side of Juan Esquivel and Ponce de Leon. You guys know him? Ponce de Leon from Puerto Rico? Borinquen? That's right. He was in Quisqueya making a name for himself under the tutelage of Juan. So there was a scene where they will invade a village, right? And there was a scene where the Taino, Bejiques, the medicine people, would barricade with different plants, and they would start fires. And I could imagine these Spaniards laughing, ha ha ha. These fires can't stop us. We got the horses and so on. We just jump over the fires, whatever. But guess what? As they got closer to the front line, guess what? Those vejiques, it just was not ordinary plants. They were poisonous plants. So when the Spanish was sucking the air, boom, they would die. So here is your first historical documented chemical warfare. And that was conducted by the vejiques. So during desperate times, when there's no other alternative, when peace and negotiation fails, you resort to self-defense. And they use the environment. They will also, during Guatemalama's time, they will create these fake villages. They were fake. And they will cook meals there and all. The Spanish and their greed, they will come. Remember that story I tell you about chopping the bodies? I know they were salivating to try to kill some natives. But guess what? It was a trap. These were fake villages. And they will be attacked from behind or whatever. Very smart. This is something that the warriors, led by the chiefs, the warrior chiefs and the Bejiques, would conduct. It was well documented. Thank you to Bartolomé de las Casas. Just wanna, I talk about Juan Le Esquivel, who was a knight. One of his students or his apprentices was Ponce de Leon. He made millions of dollars killing our ancestors. And then there was, hold on a second, Gadas. He was also the one that invaded Jamaica. They used the horse very effectively, trying to take down. Because the thing about our ancestors, when they saw the horse connected to the invader, they thought it was one piece. So you can imagine they were overwhelmed. So there was definitely bloodshed on both sides. On the Taino side was survival. So Guatumanama, the caciques, and the Bejiques will band together to lead the war cries. Now, I'm a non-violent kind of guy. I've studied martial arts most of my life. I'm a Tai Chi practitioner, Shaolin. We learn so we don't use it. We learn how to kill so we won't kill. Because in martial arts, a violent person will die a violent death. But when your village when you got your grandmother, you got your children being hacked to death, there's no other alternative. So it's hard to judge our people and so on. But there's a lot of historians say that our ancestors were brutal. We were barbarians. Well, you know what? You can't judge, man. You can't judge. So, our people fought, man. They fought hard. So I want you to think about these caciques, and these unknown bejiques. I want you to think hard. I want you to, in your prayers, when you meditate, call upon their names, man. Call upon if you're going through a difficult time in your life and you need courage, call upon these people to give you courage. These leaders, they're with us. They're in our veins. So remember, Ponce de Leon, 25 years of killing our ancestors. And this we call the Higwe Wars. And it was just horrible. Now, according to historians, it seems like these caciques were relatives. Maybe they were cousins and so on. So guess what? Word got out to Borinquen about these wars. So there was a famous cacique. His name is Aguabana, and his Yucayeke was Guania. Now, Aguabana, he tried his best to avoid war, and he negotiated with Ponce de Leon, and there was a famous ceremony called the Guatiao ceremony, which they switched names. So Ponce de Leon became Aguabana, and Aguabana became Ponce de Leon. And this is a tradition our ancestors used to perform. If you love someone so much, you will give them your name, because your name is the most sacred thing that you can possess. So Aguabana, of course, he didn't love Ponce de Leon, but he used it as a technique to protect his people. So this is a way of using tradition to help your people. Now Aguabanana, he died, and his nephew, Aguabana number 2, the brave, wasn't as diplomatic. you know. History notes him as a valiant warrior chief, and he fought very, very hard. Now, there was a situation by the Guayuco River, and hold on a second. Hope you don't think I'm rambling. I'm just trying to give you some things here. Oh, historically, the Kalinago and our Taino ancestors, they really didn't get along, and there were a lot of intertribal warfare between them. But guess what? When it hit the fan, guess what happened? The Kalinagos and the Tainos banded together. That's another historical fact that the Casa shares, is that our enemies, or alleged enemies, got together and we fought the Spanish. We fought the invaders. Isn't that amazing? That's historical, man. You know? And this happened around 1514 in Borinquen and so on. Let me see. And there's so much I can throw out here. Let me just skip some stuff here. Well, in 1510, there was a famous there was a famous incident in which there was a man called. Wait, hold on. Let me just stop there. In 1510, there was a secret war council in Borinquen. All the chiefs got together and the warriors. I believe there was over 25,000 gathering in a special meeting in 1510. And basically, they were trying to figure out if can we beat these Spanish? Can we fight them? You know. So there was a famous cacique, Uro Yoan, right? And Uro Yoan and some of his warriors tested to see if these Spaniards were as powerful as they say they were, or were they gods, super beings coming from heaven to take them on, to enslave them. So there was a poor Spanish lad. His name was Salcedo, and they drowned him. He was set up. And this is the Guarabo River. And for 3 days, they watched them decay and decompose. Now, there's many theories about those 3 days. Maybe they were invoking the resurrection of Jesus. Will they resurrect from the dead? Or is he as powerful as the caciques? Because there were a lot of death rituals of the caciques. They wait 3 days until they make them a semi. But that's another story. As you can tell, Salcedo decomposed. He was not a god. And the wars began. So the Spanish, led by Ponce de Leon, who was well equipped, many years of experience in the Quisqueya, fought very hard. So did our ancestors. And sadly, after this war council, Someone, maybe it was a spy or whoever, according to tradition, it was probably a Spaniard, disguising themselves as a native. Very hard to believe that theory because, the invaders, they didn't really bathe. Our ancestors were very clean. They would bathe 3 times a day. The Spanish didn't. So I doubt that theory. But whatever happened, it got reported back, and boom, um, the Spanish attacked at night when our ancestors weren't expecting it. Our ancestors had a tradition of not coming out at night because they respected the opias. That's a different story about that. Now, this is around 1511. Now this, hold on a second. They did that. Our ancestors did. Oh, I've been curious about museum collections containing intricate carved skulls. Was this perhaps ahead of a death ritual practice? Man, that's a good question. Can you research that for me? That would be awesome. We can do a Zoom link with others and you can present that, but I haven't really researched that about. I know there were death rituals for caciques. If you were a supersonic, beautiful cacique, and your tool was love, you would definitely become a semi, and it will take your insides, your organs, and it will burn you, and it will keep your skulls and your skeleton and make it into a semi. And many of your relatives will take some of these bones and hung them on the top of the bojillo, just like Yayaed, and that will be a reminder. It's like having your grandmother's picture. Man, she was a beautiful woman, and so on. And so listen, I'm going to stop there because I gave you a lot of nuggets there, and there was a lot of more battles. There was a lot of more destruction. But you hear these stories about our ancestors being very peaceful, docile, but hung in the gore. Yeah, it was hung in the gore on the center pole. Whenever there's a Bujio bill, there was a pole in the middle, the central pole, and they'll attach the gore on top, and that's where they put the bones. Actually, in modern day Haitian voodoo ceremonies, traditionally they build a bojillo, a center pole. They will put the gore on top of the bojillo, and that's where they put ancestral bones, straight out of creation stories. So, you know, Vodou religion contains a lot of Taino traditions there, spiritual traditions. So, man, I know I gave you guys a lot, but I just want to say that our people, we defended ourselves. And, we always negotiated first. We gave food, we gave women. We try our best to appease these invaders who did nothing but attack our people, rape the women and children, and so on. Recently, I was researching that Columbus had a woman called Doña Maria. She was his slave, and she was basically his sex slave. And she has 6 children with him. And I was reading some stuff that anyone that has the Colon name with Taino blood, you're probably related to Christopher Columbus. Now, I have a distant DNA cousin, 4th generation, that mentioned to me that we have the Christopher Columbus blood. I'm like, oh no, don't tell me, man. But the sad part about it is, and I love this adage from Mexico: we know our mother, we don't know our father. And the mother is indigenous woman. So listen, I love you guys. I don't see your faces, but I can feel your energy. It's very important, man, that when you're in prayer or in ceremony, when you take a walk in the woods, our ancestors are in our blood, man. If people say, hey, man, you're a warrior, man, you're tough. or you do anything for your family and for people, for strangers, man, you got a big heart. Hey, you probably have that warrior gene with you who fought hard. You probably have that Behike blood, you know? And I'm always talking to people who are very psychic or drawn to the plant medicine and so on. It's in our blood, man. I want you to claim that. Okay? Don't be afraid. If you need some help, hit me up, Taino Funhouse at gmail.com. Very, very important to connect to that spirit world. Very important. Your way. There's no the way. It's your way. It's very important. Need some help? Let me know. I'm here for the people. This is the Taino Funhouse. And I have some exciting news that I'm going to present later on in future shows. But in the next few years, I'm planning to hold a ceremonial area in New Mexico, not far from Belen, by those sacred mountains. And one of the things that I researched was that in these mountain areas, in Belen, by Belen, New Mexico, they find bodies of missing indigenous women and children. And New Mexico is number one in missing. So I'm looking to create a sacred space there. If anyone's interested, hit me up. I'll be there in a couple of years. Hopefully by next year, we're going to open up the land for ceremony in New Mexico. So please, if you're interested in helping, that's New Mexico. We're going to get it done. And guess what? Those invaders did not stop in the Caribbean. They went to Mexico, as we know. And they went as far as what we call New Mexico now, looking for gold and Fountain of Youth, whatever. Oh, by the way, Ponce de Leon was killed in Florida by a rusty arrow, looking for the Fountain of Youth. So he got his karma. He just didn't figure it out that what he was doing was wrong. So all those millions of dollars he made, a violent person will die a violent death. Keep it peaceful. Ask those ancestors for help. I'll see you next week. Every Friday, here we go, 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. I throw a lot at you today. But guess what? Our DNA goes back 7,000 BCE in the Caribbean and even further up from North America. Yo kama okama atabe usuimako okama yokahu bagwamarogodi Taino ti o Taino ti Atabe yokahu wama yo atabe yokahu wama. Many of the Spaniards, the invaders, won the battles. We won the war. We are still here.